everybody, and welcome to the Walking Dead Reactor panel. They call me the governor, and welcome to this. Now, you may notice there's a couple new faces, and a couple faces are missing. And if you looked at our nice little advertisement, it said that Johnny Odell was going to be here. Unfortunately, he had a last-minute thing, so hopefully we'll get him next week. For you who don't know him, he is the Godfather of the Reactions, so we definitely want to bring him back. And, yeah, a couple of our regulars had unexpected things. One of them may pop in later. We don't know. We'll see. But before we start talking about episode 2 with all its very interesting scenes, I'd like these fine people to introduce themselves. So let's start with Jaz. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jaz. You know me formerly from Wizard World. We'll see where I'm at over at Fan Expo. Stay tuned for that. And I'm a really big Walking Dead fan, even though clearly I did not wear the correct costume today.
Yeah, it's Villains Day, apparently. Speaking of which, we have a brand new face who's never been on here before. And I just met her like seconds ago. Taylor, tell us about you.
Hey guys, I got into the fandom premiere night and I've fell in love with it ever since, and I'm grateful to Kirkman. He's given me many amazing friends and opportunities and even more love of Walking Dead, and I'm eager to share my insight and to be on the panel.
That is awesome. And finally, someone who has been on before when we were on the Wizard World channel, which that is kind of, up in the air. Jaz could probably tell you all about that.
But I won't.
But she won't, because she signed all kinds of agreements. So, Jack, tell us about yourself. And we can't hear you.
I muted because you told
us.
There we go. Sorry, I forgot to unmute. Okay. Hello, I'm Jack. I make all kinds of videos on YouTube. I started watching The Walking Dead when it first came out in 2010. Fell in love with it, as many did. And I make, more specifically, Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, all that kind of stuff, videos on YouTube. And I'm very excited to talk about this episode tonight. I got a lot to say.
All right, but keep in mind, it's episode 2 because somebody, called AMC, decided that everyone could see every episode a week ahead. It was bad enough when it was on Thursday, but we're not going to talk about anything from episode 3, even if you've already seen that. We're only talking episode 2. So forget what you may or may not have seen and, in the 3rd episode, if you've already watched it.
I definitely have not watched episode 3.
All right, then that makes it real easy for you.
Just kidding.
Yeah, so this episode was interesting because the premiere, at the end of it, Negan basically was like, oh, Maggie's in trouble, and took off, so I actually thought he was going to change his mind, come back and help her, try to get in good with the community. But no, he just decided, leave her to a fate, which, that's a valid choice considering what she said. So we see him get in with the others. What was your reaction to, his actually leaving her behind? Let's start with Jack.
Oh, well, I feel like many people thought, from a writing perspective, they were going to have him help her up and get some brownie points. So I was fairly surprised when he didn't. But as you said, I don't really blame him because of the type of stuff she said very, very recently before that. And everyone else made it up fine. They didn't need assistance. So and I didn't really blame him for doing that because he didn't throw her, he didn't push her, he just didn't help.
He did.
There's a difference.
He did make a point. He didn't try to kill her. He just didn't put his nuts on the line to save her. And I love the fact that when they're like, "Where's Maggie?" He's like, "She was right behind me." He did not lie.
No, he did
was.
not.
Taylor, what was your perspective on the whole Negan abandoning Maggie?
I was actually expecting him to help her because he's been trying so hard to prove himself to the community, but I was not surprised at all that he did not. As you said, he just simply didn't help, which is what she's been talking about. And I think he was actually kind of hoping that she wouldn't make it so that he could just keep proving to the other people that's been easier to prove to him. And I also feel like he maybe feels like he's already proved himself enough. It's been 6 years and he has been in his own way trying to make up for the deaths that he's caused, and he's a valuable member of the community. So for Maggie to just stroll back in after 6 years and just sorry, can we curse?
You can curse.
Mess everything up for him. You know, it wasn't surprising to me.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I just checked. You can't fucking curse. No, very true. I do feel that he had at least built up some goodwill, and then Maggie comes back and, basically takes that all away.
Yeah.
Jaz, your thoughts?
I mean, I agree with all of you guys. I was hoping that maybe he would come back with something and try to help her out because, of everything he's done in the past to her specifically with her husband and her son. But yeah, it's not surprising. Like you said, he just didn't help. It's, it's two different things. He didn't go out and literally try to murder her. He just simply didn't do anything about it.
Exactly.
Right. He could have, decided to lean over and kick her in the face and, knock her back into the Bitas, but he didn't. He, just said, well, would she help me? And honestly, if Maggie had gone first and Negan was being grabbed, do you really think Maggie would have been like, take my hand, Negan, come on up? No, I don't think she would have done any of that.
I think she would have full on taken that opportunity to just get rid of him for sure.
Well, I did read somewhere that Lauren does want Maggie to kill Negan. So
yeah, I feel like it's going to come to a showdown between them.
Well, honestly, what Lauren wants, I don't care. She left for ABC. She was less than stellar to me at Walker Soccer London. So,
Ooh.
I'm more for JDM and what he wants,
Exactly.
I think JDM, I think Negan should, maybe off Maggie, maybe in the final showdown. And then adopt Herschel. So there.
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
Plot twist. That's quite the sidetrack there.
Well, I'm the governor. Let me take a peek in the chat and see what's going on. We have Ms. Kayla and Sadie Louise. They say hello. They're ready for this great episode. They're asking about the favorite scene. We'll talk about the favorite scene in a bit, Sadie. Don't worry. Kayla says she loves the scene when Daryl was shooting his way through the train. We will definitely talk about that because that was something out of friggin' Taken,
That was nice.
Daryl had a particular fucking set of skills there. And there's a bunch of love for Daryl, who's,
always.
And it was Deborah Elmer says it was a great episode. Daryl went John Wick on them. Yep.
Yeah, he does have a dog. That's true.
They're asking about Machond. We'll see if she comes. Hopefully she'll pop in. If not, she had a work thing. And hopefully she'll be here. But she first said she was running late, and then she said she might not make it. So, but we have some fine people here anyway. So,
thank you.
And yeah, definitely don't talk about Deborah about the early episode. It is kind of crazy. Sadie Louise is praying for New Orleans and all of Louisiana. Absolutely. Our hearts are with them out there. And let's hope that they don't get biters on top of that shit. 'Cause,
Right. Zombie NATO.
Yeah, that would be Zombie NATO. That's the next one. Shark versus Zombie NATO.
That's movie 7.
So they're talking about that, and Sadie said that she forgot that I read the comments. Jack World says I read that JDM was really pushing not to say the Glenn line, and that's
that is
what
true.
I've read because that
100%.
was a stupid line for him to say. But that was last episode.
I think that did carry over to this though, because Maggie was putting him at risk if he helped her, however slight, and that tied into that line. If he had fallen into the walkers, that would have been it for him. So,
yeah, I do believe that had he been in the position, Maggie would have been like, "Fuck you." She probably would have helped him die. But it is very interesting that he was kind of saved by Gage showing up and pounding on the door, and of course, Maggie didn't kill Gage, but she didn't help him. Gee, that was kind of a little ironic twist there.
Right.
Thoughts on the Gage situation and him stealing my line by saying, "Liar." Yes. You go first.
Oh, I mean, I didn't really have a hard thought about it either way. Like, oh yeah, it was good that she did that, or it was bad that he did that. But like, I mean, just the fact that it was basically almost the same situation as Maggie and Negan before.
Yep.
And then she was all cheesed and angry about it. It's like, well, look, you're in the same position now. What are you doing? Did you just learn something here or not? I think that she probably did make the correct choice, even though I do think that they should have at least tried. And I mean, that scene, as gross as it was really cool and beautiful to watch at the same time.
It was actually my favorite scene from the episode.
Yeah.
Well,
for the cinematics of it.
The kid had guts, and you could definitely see him.
Nice.
Yeah, he. I can't say I felt too bad for him. I mean, he's the one who was giving Lydia a hard time, and he was. If you're being followed by biters and you go into a car and you can close the door behind you.
Right.
That might have been a good idea, but, he was a waste of oxygen. Taylor, any other thoughts about Gage?
Yeah, I actually have a good parallel situation. I don't know if you guys saw that, but back to Noah and Glenn and Noah's last moments in the vestibule in the warehouse they were in. Was that season 4 or 5? I think.
Are you talking Noah in the warehouse, or are you talking about
not warehouse? What?
So they were in a rotating door, a revolving door.
Yeah. But it brought me back to that because Glenn had to sit there and watch Noah get torn apart by walkers behind him, and he couldn't help. He literally couldn't. And then here we see Maggie in almost an exactly same situation. Not exactly, but very, very similar. And she could have helped. She chose not to. Again, like Negan. And that's kind of the theme of that episode too. It's like back to Maggie and Negan and just bolstering that growing confrontation between them. And I just thought, I like how we're seeing a lot of throwbacks to little bits here and there from past seasons. And it just took me back to that and just made me think of her and Glenn again. So
I think we're going to see a lot of Easter eggs from episodes in prior seasons this entire final season. But yeah, basically, this taught us a valuable moral lesson not to put your neck out for anybody. Jack, your thoughts?
Yeah.
You're muted again.
I think you're muted again.
Sorry, my jacket's very squeaky, and it can be annoying. I was not a fan that she chose to do that, though I understand why. I was kind of thinking back to No Sanctuary with Glenn and Rick, and how there were people trapped, and Rick was still in a very survivalist mindset, just trying to leave. And Glenn's like, no, we got to help those people. We got to let them out. That's still who we are. It has to be. And I'm just thinking, if Rick or Glenn or someone else were in that train car, I mean, hell, even Machond, I'm pretty sure they probably would have tried to help him. Yeah. And I think that the place that Maggie's at right now, though, given all the things that she's gone through in the time that she's been gone, which we haven't technically seen most of that, but because of what we've been told, it's understandable that she's as cold as she is. But I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. She said she thought it was a good thing. Exactly. But I think that's going to end up being something that causes more people to get hurt later on down the line this season. Yeah. And it might cause her to kind of reevaluate that. But it hit different. Like, yes, I understand Gage was, like you were saying, he was a dick to Lydia, although peer pressured by adults who were using his trauma as fuel for that anger and that fire. He grew up at Hilltop while she was there. So she's known him since he was like Judith's age. And she's like she watched him grow up until she left. But it feels, I don't know, it just felt weird and wrong. Like that was kind of the defining moment that really showed me that this is nothing like the Maggie that left back in season 9. It is almost a completely different character, other than the fact that she has the same name and Herschel with her. Yeah.
I feel like she's lost that part of herself that Glenn was drawn to, because Glenn 100% would have tried as hard as he could to open that door. And I think Rick would have been right behind him. And for her to not try and to step back and be like Carol or Negan and just be so pragmatic and logical about it, that she's not her anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely lost something. And that creepy ghost story she told, kind of explains a little bit of that. A couple things in the chat. Ms. Kayla said she completely forgot who Gage was.
I mean, me too. Let's be real. Yeah.
The Dracaris bitch, I don't know if I'm saying it properly. I apologize if I'm not. Says she loves this panel. Thanks for doing this. We love doing it, or else we wouldn't do it. But thank you for your support.
Targaryen? Dracaris?
Yeah. Yep. I was just gonna say.
Alien Pen Posey says that she thought Gage was part of Maggie's new group, which no, he's been around. I do appreciate the fact that he said the most accurate thing about Negan in the first episode. He's a dick, but he's right. That was like perfect.
It's the fans.
And they're all saying there's one less mouth to feed. Since Gage is not there, give Lydia his ration. And why they chose Gage to go on this mission, he spent his whole youth behind the hilltop wall. Yeah, I don't know if he volunteered. I mean, he's not proven his bravery. I thought they were bringing good fighters, and they bought Gage and, the guy from E.T. to carry supplies and see how reliable they were. And Sadie Louise says she 100% gets the Maggie shift because she's been through a lot.
Yeah.
So Jack is practically, squirming in his leather.
Mine's all broken in. It's not squeaky.
I mean, this is pretty old. I only wear it on special occasions.
I wear mine all the time.
Yeah, I have 2 friggin' Negan jackets too. So
nice.
But Jack, what were you squirming to say?
I'm behind having him spent time behind the hilltop walls. I know back it was in season 10 when they were doing that like the title card thing where they were being kept awake for like a couple days on end with the like Walker and Whisper attacks. He was like out there with everybody fighting the Walkers with like Laura and people like that. So it's not like he hasn't seen Walker combat before. And I think I don't know if it's okay to bring up the afterthought thing that Kang mentions. She went in depth on it a bit and said that he's going on these missions and trying to help because he is trying to be a productive member of the group and trying to make up for the bad that he's done. And so that kind of made it just another nail in the heart of the just like, I didn't love the kid. I'm not a fan of him like I was a fan of other characters in the show, but they could have at least shot it a little better to where it seemed hopeless once the walkers got in, but they were pretty tactfully taking them out through that bottleneck to where they very easily could have got the door open, pulled them in, and shut it. Even if it didn't lock, just close it. And then they would have been waiting there for the walkers to come and then do exactly the same thing and have an extra person to fight the walkers. But she chose to not do that. So I don't know. I really liked a lot of the shots this episode, but the way that they kind of shot that little exchange afterwards, like, I like that they were being tactical about taking the walkers out, but it made it seem like they definitely could have helped and wouldn't have been that worse off if they did.
Yeah.
Well, not to mention, if you see how the other door was blocked, someone had apparently ripped one of the seats and blocked that door, so it couldn't be opened.
Yeah. Right.
So they had this friggin' massive guy who was pounding through that door. He could have ripped,
Dude was a tree.
Yeah. They could have pulled up one of the seats and they could have blocked the door. In fact, that's
right.
I'm like, when they started really pounding after they, let Gage die, and they were really pounding, I'm like, instead of putting flares so you can see him, why not put, grab one of the benches and put it in the way so they can't get through. Something to...
That's what I was thinking.
If that doesn't keep them from getting in, at least it would make it more difficult for them to get through and make them easier targets, too.
Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here really quick. And I'm just going to say that, like, it's really easy to figure out what you would do in that situation when you're watching it. But I know for me, when I'm going through a lot of situations, I can think of what I should have done after the fact instead of what I actually had done before.
That's the hindsight is 2020.
That part. But then, of course, I do like the parallel, like I said, with Maggie and Negan, that they showed that they're different perspectives of, nope, I'm just not going to help. I think that was poetically beautiful, the way that they showed that. Because like I said earlier, I think they could have helped him. Yeah.
I think maybe Maggie was still pissed off enough at Negan to just be like, no, we're not opening the fucking door, not doing any more of this.
Well, you would think that she would be pissed off in the other direction and be like, I'm going to show that I am better than Negan and we are going to save this guy. And
because he did say that he was like, oh, she doesn't care about that kid, and she proved him right. She didn't.
I think that goes back to the part that I thought that she's lost that piece of herself that cares about the other people, and she's just too pragmatic and logical now.
Yeah.
But she apparently is so wrapped up in going back and retaking Meridian that she doesn't care. I mean, when you think about it, when they first went down into the tunnels, Negan's like, we should wait here for the storm to pass.
Yeah.
And then make our way above ground. If they had followed that particular suggestion, which they wouldn't because it came from Negan.
Exactly.
They wouldn't have lost two people. They wouldn't have lost the ammo bag.
Right.
They wouldn't lost their supplies. And so they wouldn't have had to necessarily make the, detour to get supplies after they got there. They'd be, they'd be in better shape if they had followed Negan's advice.
Definitely.
But because it was from Negan, they weren't going to listen.
Exactly.
Couple things in the chat. Maggie is going through what Rick went through when he was cold, almost turning into a villain, where he killed Negan's people while they slept.
100%.
Yeah, I kind of can see that, but I also think Rick did a lot of things that I did later on. He was pissed at Deanna for letting people leave Alexandria, like, you let them leave? And it's like the same thing I'm thinking. You let people leave Woodbury and go out, and they run into other people and say, hey, I know a great settlement. Let's take it over. And then next thing you know, there's, barbarians at the gate. So instead we were at the gate of the prison, but we won't talk about that. And then Father Gabriel was on board with Maggie's decision as well. He's going real cold. Well, yeah, he's basically lost his faith, I think, a long time ago. When he beat killed poor Maze. Yeah, I was going to say the Terminator, the T-1000. With Aaron's arm, that was some cold shit. So, yeah. And like in the first episode when he's like, I think God would have checked with him. I don't think God would have checked with him for shit, because God's like, you ain't my guy anymore. You're, I don't know whose you are, but you ain't mine. So.
Well, they're in a living hell, literally. So it's understandable that Gabriel, like a man of cloth, is like, I'm going to start to rethink some things.
So yeah, Andy had said Father Gabriel was on board. Mitchell Maine said, got to bring a few expendable characters on each mission.
Couple red shirts.
So yeah.
Little cannon fodder.
And Alien Pen Posey says, can we talk about Gabe's coward comment? As if we didn't find him, weeping on a rock in his first episode when we met him.
Right.
I mean, he has had quite a journey as a character. I would not call him the coward that he once was. I think he's overcompensating for what he did in the past, and now he's just like, he's trying to be friggin', John Wick, but which I don't quite buy. Gage went because someone needed to die this episode. Well, I think what's his face getting the arrow to the face at the end. We got enough death, but
did anyone else think Axel at that point?
Yeah,
right.
Or Axel,
as soon as that dude got hit in the face with arrow.
Comics.
Can we talk about comics? Yeah,
we can talk about comics.
Comic Abe.
Comic Abe. Yeah. The first thought was Axel, and I was like, "Oh man!"
Well, Denise got Comic Abe's death, from what I understand. So yeah, he was also another. But so Dracarys says, "I think the Negan Maggie tension will be resolved by the end of this mission."
Someone's gonna die though pretty soon between those two.
In order to shift to the Commonwealth more. I don't know that they're going to kill off Maggie, and I don't think that they want to kill off Negan.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they don't want to do that. I'm not saying I'm not saying it by like the end of the next episode or anything like that. I'm saying something's coming though.
Yeah, for sure.
But I have a feeling if there's a confrontation and one of them walks away thinking the other's dead, I think it's like someone falls and they don't die. And
I mean that sort of already kind of happened this last episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Glenn dumped her, bring that back.
Yeah. Well, Maggie
that was terrible.
Learned from Glenn how to get, under things like dumpsters and train cars. So that's how she got away.
And there you go.
Not Your Average Joe says, okay, now I blame the writers. We will have more concentration on the Commonwealth, which I want to talk about that. Gabe got redeemed. KC TWD says Gabe got redeemed. Gage didn't get to. Jack Swirl says he's going to die because he's too ruthless and reckless. Hypocrite as much as Maggie. Yep. Mitchell says I don't want Negan to die, but if he does, I want him to sacrifice himself for Maggie.
Then that's something that I brought up before. That was one of the theories that I've had.
So he saves little Herschel.
He saves Herschel.
I'd be okay with Herschel. I do not want him sacrificing himself for Maggie at this point.
No. I mean, I honestly, I don't want him to do that either, but I could see it maybe happening at some point.
That would be like the ultimate making up for what he did to her.
See, but I feel like she's spiteful enough that she still wouldn't care. But if it was Herschel, she might.
I mean, exactly.
At this point, she wouldn't. I think on her end, it would have to be a Negan saving Herschel when she absolutely couldn't, for her to care. For him to give everything up and save her, it would be good for him, for the community to like to prove himself ultimately, but it wouldn't sink in with her. She'd just be like, okay, good. You know?
It's like, yeah, he was trying to pull a fast one, and you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's not going to trust him no matter what. I don't think anything
definitely.
he does other
Jax,
than saving Herschel.
Jack World
No.
says not Maggie, Herschel, LOL. Yep, absolutely. There's a lot of Negan love. And they think someone says 89% he's going to die.
God, I hope he doesn't.
Yeah, that's KCTWD. Someone says, I love
I
Negan.
would be
hope he
a lot more
survives."
upset over that than I probably should be if he dies. I will say that.
Yeah.
Like
I
I know
would
I
be
shouldn't be
gutted.
upset over it, but I will be.
I don't know how happy I would be if he had his ending like in the comics, because I feel like something more obvious needs to happen with him, but
not
I
death necessarily.
I just don't want him to die.
Yeah, I don't want him to die. At this point, with how few, at least for me, enjoyable characters are left, with how many that should be in this final arc that aren't,
Yeah,
I want to anchor on to the ones I enjoy as deeply as I
Absolutely.
can, and he is
Exactly.
one of those. Like when Maggie came back, like it was cool, but
Yeah.
at this point I'm kind of just like, like I'm kind of over it already, just because of
Yeah.
how long she was gone, just from the show, whether from like a writing perspective or like the actual storyline. It just feels weird to have her in here just calling the shots now. So I'm just hoping that, and the whole like Daryl Carroll stuff, like I'm hoping they skedaddle by the end of 11A or like mid 11B, so that we can give everybody else a bunch of screen time, like Aaron and Rosita and a bunch of the other like OG people that we haven't seen much of.
I think you're right. Like mid, like 11B would probably be good, and it would be a good setup for their spinoff that Kang's going to head up. But yeah,
Spinoff was a lie.
I also think with Maggie, it's a power vacuum. Like Rick is gone, Machond's gone, Glenn is gone, Carl's
I'm
gone.
the last one.
Carl's freaking gone. Still a little salty about
Get me
that.
started on Carl.
So, like, even
Well,
though we
no,
still have
Jesus.
Carol, like we needed another, like you said, OG character to come back in and fill that power vacuum, and that's what they got. So,
I do like what Alien Penposi says. Pretty sure Gabe also left a door open with disastrous consequences in his time.
Doesn't he always though?
And his whole past origin story was intentionally leaving people locked out to die.
But I mean, Gage left the door open and bite his
we
butt
don't know
in.
that he could have closed it. Gabe intentionally just didn't put an effort.
Has he had
into it.
enough of locked doors where now he just needs to leave every
paid no
door
attention.
unlocked?
Sadie Louise says,
Jack,
Gabe is
you look
creepy.
a little salty about that.
Gabe is creepy and she loves it. Miss Kayla says, is that really Stephanie we saw at the end of the episode? Doesn't look like the woman that was cast unless I'm missing something. So let's take a break on Negan, because there's apparently a lot of pro Negan bias in this
There's
panel.
always going to be a lot to unpack.
There's
with
always
this,
gonna be
too.
bias
So,
with us, I think. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Commonwealth situation. And I gotta say, I love how Yumiko was just like, you know, she just put them assessors in that place and was like, you were this, you were this. Really, you're trying to justify your existence, and I'm better at it than you are. You need me. And then, you know, comes in with that
It's
coffee.
true.
That was just...
It's true.
You were in forensics in your last lifetime.
It's like,
I love that
forensic
we're getting more
psychiatrist,
Yumiko.
Academic.
Oh yeah.
Mercer comes in, he's like, we need this bitch. So yeah, I do admire that. I don't know how Princess's love of toilet paper got her qualified.
That was so funny. I have to say that. She was like, oh shit, really? I'm gonna have like me a good time in here. And it made me think of like, you know, what we've been dealing with like last year, where everybody was going on crazy.
Right? It was
I'm like, I can relate to you right now.
Well, think about it. You've been in the apocalypse for for 10 years, and then you come to this place that, yes, is kind of holding you in stasis right now, but they have toilets and toilet paper. I think I would be just as excited as she was.
Oh,
honestly.
Yeah, I don't want to think about what they do wipe with. You know?
that was my next question. What have they been used for?
Oh my god.
Well, they could have borrowed some of that money, but you know.
Right.
That
That's
might
another
almost
thing.
be worse than using a leaf, though. You don't know where that money's been.
Yeah.
Poison
Very
ivy,
true.
though. There's that.
Boob sweat.
Yeah, and but the interesting thing I found about Eugene is when he was brought in, and first of all, they treated him like shit, and he's making like a wooden shiv. Oh my god, he was having a rough time.
He was about he came so close to losing it completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
I like that they had him making a little shiv too. It gave me
Right.
Terminus flashbacks. And he was like stuck in there, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta have a way to defend myself."
Right.
That was an excellent impression.
That was great. I love
That's
it.
pretty good.
But the thing is, they're like, Mercer's like, you can't lie for shit, and he's like,
Yeah.
But you know, maybe he acts like a bad liar. So when he really wants to lie, because he had Abe and Rosita.
Exactly. He is
Thinking
a good
he
guy.
was-
The whole time.
Yeah.
Yep.
He lied to them for months and didn't get, or maybe even a couple years at that point. We don't know
If
exactly
he hadn't
how
come
long.
clean, Abe was ready to push through an ocean of Vitas to try to
Right.
get him to Washington.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he can lie when he needs to lie. So,
Mhm.
and that was an amazing thing. And
I was actually wondering how much of that speech was like completely true. Because I'm still thinking, are you telling
Yeah.
us what Chris did?
I'm
What's
pretty sure
going
he's a
on
virgin.
here?
Well,
I mean, I
It
believe
has
that
come
too,
out that him and
honestly.
Laura hooked up at the sanctuary. It's come out by a couple accounts and producers and stuff that was the thing.
Like,
just
what,
because
what
they hook up though
episode?
doesn't mean they did the whole thing though.
Yeah, true, but
I mean, a little hand job doesn't do the trick.
Oh
So.
my god. Ugh.
But at the end, someone said that was not the same person that was cast for Stephanie. There could have been a substitution. I don't see why they would have a deception of that nature, there. It sounded
I mean,
like...
it could be that she got in trouble for giving away their location.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, we'll just find another Stephanie for Eugene, though.
Yeah.
Well,
What is
or
it like?
someone to try to get him to drop his guard down and see how much of his story is actually true.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that was the thing. I'm like, oh, okay, here's this girl. She's all cute, got her little glasses, super nerdy,
Mhm.
looks perfect for sweet little Eugene, right?
Right.
And it's like,
Exactly.
there's still something a little bit weird about this. Like, I mean, if there's one thing I've learned about the show, it's trust nobody,
Yeah.
trust no one. So it's like, there's got to be something going on here still. I'm not completely like, oh, okay, this is cute. Now let's see what they do. I think it still might be a setup of some sort for him.
Well, part of the ringer. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, they introduce Stephanie to Eugene. King Ezekiel looks like he got cleaned up. Yumiko got cleaned up. Princess got cleaned up. Couldn't they let Eugene take a fucking shower before he meets the supposed love of his life?
Right.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. If it is real, that sucks for him because he's like stinky and dirty, right?
Yep.
And if it isn't, it's good for them because you could see the relief on his face. And at that point, she's got his trust. And he's so relieved to see that she's real. I think once they get alone, he's going to start giving
That
up
pillow
some
talk's
secrets.
going to be real
Yep.
revealing.
Exactly.
But I
Yeah.
think she'll make him take a shower first.
Hopefully.
Well, I mean, granted, Eugene and Daryl aren't the same person, but just saying.
Eugene will probably just smell like pickles.
So quickly in the chat, we got Dracaris saying red shirts are needed for this type of show. Dax World says Rosita is greater than Gabe, better than Gabe. Either that or saying Rosita point to Gabe. I don't know what that means.
Rosita's better than Gabe.
I mean, that's pretty true.
For them, though,
are-
does
are
one
two
have to
good
be
for
better
Gabe?
than the other?
I mean, I don't know.
I want to agree with that, but I mean, they both had their kind of things about them.
I don't know.
I still don't see
their
them
ship
together.
Yeah, their ship makes no goddamn sense. It's so
hopefully
weird.
Hopefully something will happen.
Gabe just done, and then it's just her thriving with Coco.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Deborah Ulmer says Gabe lost it when he overly stabbed Dante. I don't know. I thought that was the right amount of stabbing for Dante.
Maybe one more.
I don't disagree with that at all. I actually wanted more stabbing for Dante, but that's just.
I would have been right. If I was alive, I would have been like, hand me the knife. Can I have a turn? Let's stab him some more, you know?
I hated Dante so much for so many reasons.
I didn't like him from the moment I met him.
Bummed that they didn't, because I think when they originally cast him, I think it was supposed to be the comic Dante role. But then with the stuff with Lauren leaving and everything, they're just kind of like, let's totally change it and just threw everybody for a loop.
And I probably would have liked him more if they had kind of stuck with that.
Yeah, because he was a good actor and he was like funny, but I feel like they added some weirdness to him because of like the fact that they wanted to make him seem a little bit more out of place than some of the other people. But if they didn't do that, I feel like he probably would have been fairly liked.
I'm sure he could have played a much more likable character, but kudos, hats off to the actor, because from the moment I saw him, I was like, yeah, he's a scummy dick, but you know.
Oh yeah.
But for him to do that and have his acting, he's not saying anything that indicates that he is a scummy dick, but you know. But we digress. We're going back to dead men who don't tell tales. Of course, I'm dead, but I'm not talking about that. Let's see. Rosita and Gabriel are absurd as a couple. As Narder Slaxer says, never in a million years. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. I don't think they're absurd. I think it could be as simple as a case of she's had a certain type of man in her life for so long. And now they have a community, and maybe Gabe is exactly who she was looking for. She just couldn't before because she needed to survive, you know?
And in real life, you see so many couples that are like, how are they together?
Right. At surface value, you're just like, what? And then when you get to know them, you're like, oh, this 100% makes sense.
And besides, it doesn't mean that they're together forever, you know? I mean,
yeah.
Exactly.
You know, Rosita kind of played the field. She had Spencer, she had Saeed.
I was going to say Coco isn't even Gabriel's own daughter.
I think Saeed was the start of her being able to... Saeed.
Oh.
Sadiq. Was it Saeed?
Sadiq.
Oh my God.
Sadiq.
Wow. I need to go back a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This
was the start of
bad.
her being able to
Thinking about
get
Lost.
more comfortable.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
So.
See, like and it's nothing against the actors. I think Christian and Seth are amazing actors, like on their own, playing their characters. But just the characters together, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it has that much chemistry. Whereas the few scenes that we saw her with Sadiq, it felt a lot different and a lot more natural. And I don't know. So I mean, it's not to say that it's just completely feels wrong. I don't know. The characters just feel off.
It's not wrong. It's just not quite right.
Yeah. That's a better way to put it.
There are like other shows where they have couples together, and it's like I don't feel that same vibe, but I know other people see it too. So I mean, it's just perspective, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
So Dracaris says, do you think he's lost faith in God, Father Gabriel, or is he just playing the part for the comfort of
completely,
others?
he's definitely on his way.
I think he's getting there. I think he might still be looking for signs one way or another, but I think he's starting to get to that point
and I can't blame the guy. I mean, look how he's living right now.
Yeah, I mean, and they're on like a seriously like last ditch mission. Like this is it, you know. They succeed. If they don't succeed, this is it. So I can see him seeing that way.
As Narda Saxer says, Gabriel seems to play himself as God, judge, jury, executioner. I mean, he does seem to be
kind of Maggie issue though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got a bunch of pricks who think that they know what's right for everybody. And I'm not around, and I did know what's right for everybody. Damn it.
Of course you did.
And there is some talk about Negan has to make it to the end. They'll be really upset if Negan dies. Andy says, I'm hoping it's real Stephanie, not some Commonwealth test. I hope that is actually Stephanie. I hope that,
I hope so too. But
I hope so.
I'm
The
skeptical.
way things are going, I don't think so, but I hope so.
Eugene
For the
needs a
whole
happy
group.
ending one way or the other. If you know what I mean.
I mean, hey, if Frankie was still around, you never know, but
Rosita Espinoza is in the chat. She says, Team Maggie all the way.
Oh.
And Dracar says, Negan all the way. I'm a Negan gal. For me, he's redeemed. I think he's not the man he used to be. I don't think he's quite redeemed. No. He's killed a lot of people. He's got a lot to make up for. And just because he killed Alpha and helped out, it doesn't make up for everything that he's done. I
but he's definitely been trying.
He's got a lot of red in his ledger, to borrow a term from the Marvel Universe. So.
I understood that reference, sir.
I mean, he's not the only one, though. The other people that are around now have their own. They just, a lot of them have shared red. So his is like his own little separate bit, and they're all kind of together with their issues, and they all just kind of gang up on him for his. But I was kind of, I don't want to say annoyed, but with Machond and Maggie, they've both made comments to the like of, oh, well, people don't really change, just after mentioning that they themselves have changed. And then when people like call them out on it, they're like, they just shut down. And it's like, it just sounds very hypocritical. And I don't know if that's like a writing thing that they just kind of want to beat in that, hey, we didn't forget that Negan's like technically still the bad guy, so we're going to make people remind you again and again. But
right.
I don't know, it seems weird that they feel the need to keep saying like, oh, if you want to go. Like, you haven't really changed. Like, I don't know. It feels like they're just beating a dead horse.
Would he be there? Would he even be there if he hadn't changed even the slightest? No.
Yeah,
he would have been out there trying to get a new army and trying to make his way again. Maybe in
or
another
he could have
state.
even become a whisperer and helped Alpha get
exactly. Yeah,
he had to go balls deep into that whisperer camp.
Literally.
And no one
And
else
Alpha.
and no one else would have done that. So that earns him some sort of sympathy. Maybe not a lot, but at least a little bit, because that
I hope he
could
scrubbed
not
down
have been
with bleach
pleasant.
after that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to understand, he was in prison for 6 years, and it's not going to look
possibly never
turn it
had
down.
anything since his wife when everything went to shit. So
he had
did.
wives.
He had his harem.
wives.
that doesn't mean they did
harem.
anything.
They
I'm
did
sure
because
they
that
did.
doctor was always giving them pregnancy tests. For sure, he was doing stuff.
Well, that was with
Don't be naive, Jack.
Sharon.
It might have not have been a pleasant experience, but there was stuff going on.
There was stuff going on. Maybe
With
probably
Frankie
not as
being
much
a
as he made it
masseuse,
seem.
I could see that being a thing. But
Yeah.
I don't know. The comics did a much better job explaining the whole wife thing, and I've always kind of had a bone to pick with the show for not doing a better job with that, because I feel like it gives people a lot of very negative and
Gray
very
area.
strong feelings about it when they really shouldn't, because it was written a lot better. But that's a whole other thing. I'm very excited about the comic stuff, though.
I find it difficult to believe that Negan, he wants voluntary intercourse.
Yes.
So these wives, if they were putting out, they're putting it out voluntarily, because he, the one guy who wanted to rape, Sasha.
Mhm.
He put an end to that.
Kill them on the spot. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. No, he doesn't stand for that at all.
He did have his borderlines. Yeah.
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 I mean, he asked for consent. I mean, but it's a little
it's a great
sketchy when
line.
it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
That was a great line because he kind of forced them to be married to him, but I'm sure he did. He didn't straight up rape.
Yeah.
So it's
there was a very interesting line that when I was rewatching the show recently in Always Accountable, I think that's 606, where when Daryl first meets Dwight and Sherry and them, you hear a side comment. Yeah, you hear a side comment from one of the generals. I think it was Wade or somebody else. And he was like, "Oh, let's go back. He only wants ass that's willing," or like a comment like that. And I was like, that's kind of another, like, that just kind of added to the, and you didn't really think about it back then because you didn't know who they were talking about. But thinking back on it now, that kind of adds a little more reinforcement that, like, if someone genuinely doesn't want to be with him, he doesn't want them around. Like, he's not going to force them to be around him because that's just not what he's into or a fan of.
He's not about that.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
yeah.
I think he might have implied a lot of things that made those women think that they had less choice than they had, but you know. Back to the chat. Alien Pen Posey says Jerry for president. He wasn't in this episode. Yes. I miss Jerry. Jerry, I think, would be an awesome president.
How many kids does he have now? Is it 3?
300
on the show?
Yeah.
I think 3.
Yeah, I thought they had 3. I wasn't sure though.
Yeah.
Ms. Kayla says Carl shouldn't have died to begin with.
No.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah,
we can't go down that. No.
Yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole.
That's a whole 12-hour live stream that I could have.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that all day. Let's just,
Lots of
that
support
was just
for
a bad
Negan.
move,
They want if a Negan spinoff is true and that actually happened, I would like Gabe in it if he lives. Someone says, I don't know that there's going to be a Negan spinoff. Has there been a rumor about that?
I mean, I think if they do something, it will not be future. It will be past. It will be from the moment we see him ride off in 1022 up until like we meet him. Because I feel like they planted enough seeds with 1022 that they could do something like that because they have Laura, they have other connections. So like, I feel like they could have, the structure or the building or the foundation of the Saviors and like the previous leader and all that stuff in like some mini series, whether it's, Tales of the Walking Dead or something like that. I definitely feel like they could do something with that. And if they end up getting rid of him, which I hope they don't, but if they do, that could be a reason to bring him back. And I know, I'm pretty sure David Morrissey's talked about wanting to reprise the role for like Tales of the Walking Dead or something like that. So I'm hoping that they go back and do some of those because I think those would do really well.
If they do it based off of the books, that would be amazing.
Let me make something perfectly clear about David. He would love to come back for a prequel. When I first met him, like years and years ago, I asked him if he'd come back, and he was like, "Yeah, he thought the governor's a complex character. I'd love to come back and do it. It would be wonderful. And the books by, Jay Bonansinga are wonderful. He was all into that. And it would be great. But he's also an actor. And what actor is going to be like, no, I would not come back and have a lucrative job.
Right.
So David is maybe willing. It's up to the studio. Now, I have hopes that they've talked about maybe revisiting, characters and exploring their backstories, that they might bring David in. And if they don't ask me to audition for the part of his brother, I'm going to be pissed. Because that was what I told him a long time ago. But
I can see it. It would work.
But David definitely, he's not going to say no to that role, depending on other things that are going on. But, until AMC says we're doing a Rise of the Governor miniseries,
right?
I'm not putting any bank in that. I've seen so many articles where people are saying, David Morrissey says he'd come back. Yeah, no shit.
Right.
I bet if you interviewed Cudlitz, he'd be like, yeah, I'd come back and do an Abraham.
Oh, he's come back millions of times to direct.
Yeah,
I love that
he'd do a prequel.
Oh
you
yeah,
know, the story
I'm.
would be.
That's another one I'm hoping for. Him,
That
the
would be
governor,
another
Negan.
good, like a
And
one-off
Eugene
episode
and
too.
Rosita,
Yeah.
like the meetup for
and
that would be
that
great.
list of people
Mhm.
that Eugene named that died, we could get every single one of them and kill them
Right.
all off in that episode.
And it wouldn't be a huge surprise, but
Yeah.
the only things I don't like about prequels is the fact that, like, if we do a Negan prequel, you know he's going to survive. Whenever he's in danger, you know he's going to live. It's the
Exactly.
people around him that make it more interesting, so it's not totally boring. But that is the problem with all the prequels is, you know, this person is going to survive. You know they're going to be back. You know what happens to them down the road. So it's like, prequels. It still could be very interesting if it's well done, but
And
Yeah.
I would really need like Lucille tidbits to come in through that too, if it were to happen. I need to see more of Jeff and Hillary together because they're just
That's a whole other thing. Yeah, that
amazing.
was such
That-
a good episode.
That's definitely probably one of my top 5, maybe top 3 episodes, just
Yeah.
because you could honestly feel the chemistry between them, and it just, if they had casted anybody else, it just wouldn't have worked.
No.
I would have
But
been
they-
so
they
mad
got
if
her,
done with
and
anybody
it
else
was-
because I was
it was
wanting her to
absolutely
play
perfect.
Lucille for years.
Yeah,
yeah, it was
It
definitely
was-
perfect
it was-
casting, perfect chemistry.
so good.
Let me head to the chat real quick because we need to get through this because we're running out of time. But this, I have to say, you know, this has been an awesome panel, you guys. So thank you for coming on, and we will definitely have both of you back. But Deborah says, yes, Aaron, Rosita, Jerry, Kelly, Connie need more screen time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yumiko.
I agree. Mitchell says Negan's his favorite character at this point. Gloria of the Dead says Team Maggie. St. Louis says Princess is Queen. You know, if we had Mama here, she'd be agreeing
She'd be
quite a bit.
wailing so much right now. We
Uh,
miss you, Mama, and Machond, wherever you are.
Dracaris says toilet paper gave me 2020 flashbacks.
Like I said, you know.
Right.
It
Miss
hurts.
Kayla says, since Yumiko has taken Michonne's comic profession, I take it that Michonne is on the TV show, was an artist or something along those lines. I think that's quite possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Casey says, you know, Eugene started to make a shiv under the desk because of what happened at Terminus.
Yep,
that
absolutely.
was a good scene, and I'd be trying to make a weapon. You know, I probably wouldn't be shitting myself as much as Eugene was, but you know, I'd be trying to make a weapon.
Something. Yeah.
Money is filthy, so I think they're talking about stuff.
You know, I'd have to admit, I would probably be as anxious as you.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
if you had gone through what he did at Terminus and everyone else, then yeah, of course.
Eugene asking for clarification on their use of the word processing because of Terminus. Yep. What do you mean
Yeah.
processing? We're going to go through processing? Or are we going to be processing the meats? I don't want to be bait. I don't want to be bait. Great processing. A great processing was a great callback. C. Louis says this panel rocks. Thank you so much. I'm way behind on these comments. We got nice Eugene impression, Jack. So
That was
I didn't
excellent.
think about that. I just,
It was
good
excellent.
impression, Jackie boy.
oh,
Really
Lord.
hope that Zeke's cancer gets cured here. I hope so too. It'd be nice if he stayed around a bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Ezekiel did lie about his cancer, as is being pointed out here, but you know, it was to appear stronger than he was.
Well,
As
also
Kayla
maybe he
says-
could have just been hopeful.
Eugene didn't want to clean up, as Kayla says. The Commonwealth will be able to help with Ezekiel. Some people think Rosita is going to get Laurie and Judith comic death. Maybe.
I hope not, but ooh.
Will the Commonwealth save Alexandria?
Almost done.
They don't know about Alexandria yet because they've been
Not yet.
doing the whole thing close to the
That's
chest.
11B, 11C.
And
Let's
we
see.
got a few episodes.
Got to
to
get
go.
Connie back still.
Right. She's in the credits.
Happy about
Someone
it.
does
I'm-
say Alien Pen Posey says I think they might help, but I don't think everyone from Alexandria will be happy to join them.
No.
You know, probably not, but
I don't think everyone from Alexandria would pass their whatever
Probably
test
not.
they have going on.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah, I'm curious to know what the criteria was, because it's
Mhm.
like, you know, did they know that they could have escaped and decided to stay? Do they, you know, and was that counted in their favor? You know, when you think about it.
They're scrappy.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they did the Karen maneuver. I need to talk to your supervisor.
Right.
You know,
I love it so much.
That was a great line too.
Never thought I would hear
manager.
an apocalypse Karen.
you want
right?
to talk to my
Right.
supervisor? Okay, let me burn through the rest of these. Got to be part of the family now. Got to go. Sadie left. Well, thanks for staying along. As long as you did. Negan is the man. 1 alpha equals 1 Glenn. It's simple math. Yeah, but forget about Abe. They understood that reference. Yeah, the Rick killed Negan people first. That's true, but he would have still killed at least one to bring them in.
Which would have been justified, let's be clear.
True.
But
And Daryl had to go and fuck it all up.
Dawn, yeah, he's the one to blame for Glenn's death.
Nobody blamed him either, really.
Dawn says she loves Maggie, but she comes back with new people and acts entitled to the leadership role after leaving for years. You know,
True.
She was gone longer than she was with everybody, which I think
Yeah.
is very interesting. She was gone 6+ years, and she was only hanging around with them for like 2, maybe 3. So it's, I
Yeah,
don't know, it's
Judith was still tiny.
which
Pretty
could
low.
explain why she has such a strong connection to these other people.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like, I know that we're pretty much out of time, but I love those few that we've gotten. Those characters, they've just kind of immediately fit in. They felt like part of the group. The chemistry was there. It
Yeah.
felt like the bonds were there.
natural.
Like they didn't really have to build that up much. And I think that says a lot for the
It was good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tarek Stedman says Gage and Roy not only left, but they took the supplies and ammo. And Maggie's thinking was probably, if you're willing to do that, how can I trust you in a pinch? Why should I put out my neck for Gage?
That's
When,
true.
you know, so there is some additional stuff there. Deborah says killing isn't the only thing Negan has done. True. I mean, he did do some. Did he do any good? I mean, did he protect?
They had a functioning community.
I mean, did he actually protect the other communities from biter incursions? Did they?
We can't say he didn't because we didn't see.
Did not
It's
know.
like
Exactly.
paying protection money to the mob,
Mhm.
and it's like, do they actually protect?
protection from him.
I mean,
Right.
protection from him, but they're supposed to protect. You know, I mean,
And I would guess that it would probably be protection from like other communities as well. So like, you know, say
They
Rick
did
Crew
have
comes
Fat Joey
rolling.
with the horde control stuff back in season 7. So I feel like they had done stuff like that before. Maybe not take herds out, but maybe like redirect them and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and it's
'cause they don't
easier
want
to
their worker
redirect.
bees.
yeah, maybe they were the ones that set up the stuff at the quarry.
Ooh.
And that
That
came
would've
back
been
to
interesting.
bite him in the ass.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. As an artist selector says, I think the writing was very clever in regards to here's Negan, the backstory.
Oh yeah.
A lot of them warm to him, and it's made, you know, us just like the way he's being treated. He was definitely being bullied. Everyone in the show has done good things, and that are not so-called good things, or have done things that are not so-called good things. So, yeah, there's a lot. I mean,
Can anybody really say that they haven't done something bad at this point?
That is not a child? No, I don't think so.
Exactly.
Andy says there's not your average Joe says Coral, still not over that. Andy says TW
will
actors
never be
curse.
over
They
that.
leave the show and try other things, but it doesn't work. Just see them you don't see them much in after the show usually. Well, Sonequa Martin Green has been in every season and every episode of Discovery, Star Trek Discovery. So she's maybe not quite so much of a problem. And I know Cudlitz has been doing some work.
Steven's been doing pretty damn good too.
And
Invincible.
Rosita's actually been doing Selena on Netflix.
I'm hoping she
Yes.
comes back for a
That's
Netsu
true.
Classified reunion.
Yeah.
So, yep. Casey says, I'd love a TWD What If series. That would be cool.
That would be fantastic.
That would be cool.
I would be here for it.
Bring
Let's
back
make it happen,
Carl.
please.
What if
Well,
the
I mean, and
governor, accepted Rick's offer and moved into the prison?
What if Lucille #1 didn't die?
Yeah, that would be something. I
They've
mean, we
already
kind of
gone
got
down that
that
path
with
with Michonne.
Machonne's
Yeah.
hallucinations. That
Yeah.
was a cool episode.
And
I
I like
really
it.
vibed on that. That was great.
Yeah. It was funky for
Oh.
her exit, but I just
Yeah.
liked the concept of it. It was really fun to
Yeah,
watch.
exactly.
Yeah.
Casey just brought up something interesting in that he said Heath probably hasn't killed anyone yet, and that's a valid thing because we haven't seen him kill anybody because Glenn took over in the Outpost thing, and he's
True.
been with either CRM
Where
or
is
Commonwealth.
Keith anyway? That's what I want to know.
He
Kang
went to
said,
another show.
Kang said that
He
that
did.
Jadis took him, but his name was
okay.
on the board that Yumiko's name was on.
Okay.
So
yeah, well, that's
I'm
true.
interested
That's true.
if that's going to be him or if that was just a fun Easter egg that maybe
Well,
it's
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, they did say that like a lot of the crew and stuff would post pictures and stuff, so it might have just been something like that.
Yeah.
But it would be awesome to see Heath again, for sure.
You better see him at least in the movies or World Beyond.
It would just be nice to know what happened.
Yeah, because
instead
he's
of
one of
just
the Alexandria
disappearing.
OGs. We don't have many of those left. We got Scott
right.
and Barbara that watches Judith, and that's about it right now.
That's
Who?
about it. Yeah.
Who?
Alexandrians? Well, Ross.
The redhead.
I mean, sorry, Aaron.
True.
Well, yeah, Aaron too, but he's
Yeah,
A-list
Aaron.
now.
Aaron's awesome.
And Andy in the chat says, I wonder if they're waiting to do the Rick movie until after the last season. I mean, I don't think they were planning on it originally,
No.
but that might be the case now.
I think it would
And
make
with
sense
what's
now.
going on with COVID, we don't really know when we're going to get that either. So, I mean, just
Exactly.
hang tight, kids. Don't be rude to people.
Hayden says Negan is funny and cool.
Mm.
Draco said, I had a theory that Negan will get Rick's death from the comics.
That or
Okay,
not.
say that again.
Negan will get Rick's death from the comics.
Interesting. That's interesting.
That would be
That-
interesting.
I could
Because
see
I've
that.
been thinking the whole time that Aaron's going to get the Rick's death because of the way that they've paralleled
kinda-
that
yeah.
in the comics.
Aaron's not close to Judith like that. I don't see that. And
I know.
Negan
That's the thing. That's why
So,
it's like, that's an
I could
interesting.
see that for sure.
I
That's
think
a good
we
theory.
need some more
Yeah.
scenes with Herschel Jr. I think because it would not. I don't think it would be Sebastian. If they're gonna do that, it's got to be Herschel Jr. And
Mhm.
he doesn't seem to have outward resentment towards him yet. So I don't know.
Well, that's something that I think it was Mama had brought up in a past panel that it
Mhm.
would be interesting to see Herschel take out Negan in that type
I would
of,
hate it, but from a
Oh,
writing
yeah.
perspective, I would understand it.
exactly.
Because
Yeah.
Maggie's definitely been just feeding him hatred the last 5-6 years
Absolutely.
about me, which understandable. I get it,
understandable.
but
But did
Yeah.
Maggie actually tell him the name?
that's another thing, yeah. But
He-
everybody else in her crew seemed to know. They're like, "Is that him?" And they
Yeah.
all like they just looked at him, and he's just chilling there, like in his beanie, just like, "I'm just here making soup, guys." Like,
Right? I'm just the soup man. Leave me alone.
All right,
No
so
soup for you.
I have to say we didn't even talk about all this episode, and then they finally get out, and these friggin' I said this in my reaction. What Daryl did when he rescued them, and he did the badass scene going down there.
Yeah.
And then he shoved the grenade into that biter's mouth and shoved him in there so they could like stop the biters.
Right.
That's great and all, but why didn't he just push the biter back, block the door again, save the grenade? Because you know where it would be really handy? When a group of people are marching down the road towards you, throw a
Right.
goddamn grenade. Sure be
Break
nice
that
if we had
squad
some
up.
grenades, eh, Mal? You know, let's
Ammo should use that grenade earlier. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
you know that might help in that particular situation, but
Do you think Carol packed him that grenade? Like, here, have a sandwich.
I would love
could
it.
see her
That's
doing
like
that.
the bonus scene I need to
Took
see
me-
happen.
Took me back to like the CDC times, you know. Here, have a grenade.
How about a cookie?
Here, let's have a
Exactly.
cookie. I made it with applesauce. And here's a nice
And
grenade. I made
for
it
the
with
color.
some
Grenades.
gunpowder. Yeah, it's a lot happened. I did like this episode. Looking forward to I'm gonna pretend I didn't see the next one already, but the next one is
You
gonna,
watched it already?
We totally
going to Dragon
didn't see the
Con.
next one.
I'm going to
See, I'm
Dragon
sitting here
Totally
being
Con.
the
did
good
not.
child, not watching it till the panel, and y'all sitting here watching it already.
Hey, I've had thoughts
know,
of
you
number
were
3
laughing
in my
at me.
head,
I
and
know,
I've
I
been
know.
really good and haven't
Oh,
done any
me
spoilers. so
too.
I could say
I'm a Tom Holland person. I would spoil it accidentally. I've done it before, so that's
I
why I'm
know.
being a good child.
Yeah.
One thing that we got such a small taste of it in this episode,
Yeah.
but I am already in love with it. The score for the Reapers is so good.
Yes.
Like their theme
Yeah.
music, like they've been sprinkling in a little bit of the Negan theme when he has like Negan-ish scenes.
yeah.
But that little 30 seconds that we got at the end of the episode, it is such a jarring theme.
yeah.
And I love it so much. And that's why I hope that the Reapers aren't wrapped up in a nice little bow in 2 episodes and we
Right.
get it for this full
half a season.
third.
Yeah.
Or at least, even half would
Whatever.
be great because
Yeah.
it's so just creepy. I'm pretty good
Mhm.
with horror stuff, but it's
Me
just,
too.
it's something about it that just puts me on edge. Like the Negan
Yeah.
stuff did initially, but it just sounds weird and wrong, but in the best way.
Right.
I don't know how the hell
It's-
that makes sense, but it just
That it makes sense, and it's another reason why I love the Kang takeover so much is because, and Jaz and I have talked about this, but she thinks of
Many times.
everything. Gimple was very male driven, action driven, and not that there wasn't good stuff in there was,
Yeah.
but since Kang has taken over, we've seen amazing writing, we've seen amazing cinematics, the score, the environment, everything. And I grieve for what could have been. It could have been amazing, before she should have taken over a long time ago. And I don't want to delve into the Gimple thing because that's a whole thing, but
Pimple.
she's
Come back
done
next
a
time, kids, for the
fantastic
Gimple
job.
talk.
And I feel like this season is really, really showing what she's capable of. And I'm extremely excited for the Carol and Daryl spinoff because she's going to be in charge.
Yeah,
she is.
I think from the
I
beginning,
might check it out then.
from when she took over, the series has just been on an upward trajectory.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Well, we are way out of time. We are over time.
Overtime.
So let's do some shameless plugging. Jazz, final thoughts and shameless plugs.
Okay, final thoughts. I can't wait to see more of Connie. That needs to be happening soon. I'm expecting to see Leah coming in with the Reapers. Well, I'll talk about that later.
I thought you said Lydia for a second.
No.
I was like, oh no.
And then so check out Vancouver Master Corral on Facebook and Instagram, Honeybees Facebook, Instagram, and you can find me at Jazzy Diva with 3 Z's or at Rose City Widow. Thank you.
Which you stole from me.
Yes, I
Rose
did. She
City
gave me the
Vegan.
idea.
All right,
We gotta
Taylor,
talk about that.
you've been the wrong party here by Jazz, but now for some shameless self-promotion.
Self-promotion, I got to get back into it, but I'm on Instagram at Rose City Negan. I also Fortnite quite a bit, Negan 82, and we routinely take down people with my bat.
She's awesome.
But yeah, I'm hoping to do more of this. I've had a lot of fun with you guys. Thanks to Jazz for pulling me in literally last second. And it's been really, really nice to talk about this with other hardcore fans because my husband completely hate watches this with me. We'll watch it because he knows how much I love it, but he does not enjoy it.
Well, that's love, though. So that's love.
It is. I love him for it.
Well, it's been awesome having you, and we'll definitely have you back. Jack?
So, since the last time I was on here, I actually changed my YouTube name because I wanted one that was easier to remember. So it's just Jack's World now. So
Nice.
totally not taking after Wizards World. And I haven't gotten over to migrating all my other socials for that, but I have them all linked on my YouTube channel, and I would get a tongue twister screw up of all of them if I tried to rattle them all off now. But I have seen the 3rd episode, and if you guys want to see that, it's up on my Patreon right now. I might put it out earlier this week if copyright allows me, but I got a bone to pick with copyright after this week. But my Twitter, which is the one I'm active on the most, is still at Group of Gamers, and if you want to swing by there and talk more Walking Dead, I'm all for it.
All right.
You may see me later.
And I, of course, am the Governor. I am the host of The Governor Reacts. I am on Fandom Spotlite, which you can go to fandomspotlight.com. You can go to a YouTube channel. We're on Twitter and Facebook and all those places. And, yeah, definitely love to talk about Walking Dead with all you guys. And tune in tomorrow night when we have Vishaw Redux here, where they'll be talking about Clueless and how to bring that back into the modern era. And then our What If panel will be on Thursday. They'll be talking about episode 4. And keep an eye out, just one, for more stuff coming. We have some more MegaCon Orlando stuff coming out. We have stuff coming from DragonCon.
Nice.
And,
Fandemic.
Fandemic, not quite yet. We gotta wait till March.
Yeah.
But eventually Fandemic. Yeah, we got a bunch of new stuff in the works. So yeah, tune in. See our sister channel Toy Spotlight if you like Transformers. And yeah, thanks so much, guys. Thanks everyone out there for watching. Thanks you guys for taking part. We will see you next week. And as always, have fun. Follow your fandom, Governor and crew. Out.